This one guy was like super snobby with me at a fashion dinner, of course. And I explained to him that there was a time when people said I couldn't rap. And he asked me, oh, so is this what you hope to do in clothing? And I was like, I don't hope, I execute.
What do you do when there aren't any doors open or paths paved for where you're trying to go? If you're anything like Kanye West, you hold close to your ambitions and self-confidence and let them carry you through all the gauntlets you'll face on your quest for excellence. We all know that Kanye has never shied away from speaking to great lengths about his own accomplishments, how great he is, or how he's a superstar. What most people don't know is that this mental model wasn't something that Kanye picked up once he started having success in the hip-hop industry. Long before he dropped his first album, The College Dropout, Kanye had always held strong to his own confidence. Kanye credits his success to his self-esteem, saying he would have never been able to achieve the things he's done had he not been the only person to believe in his vision. Imagine being in a room with a bunch of important industry people, giving them your life's work, trying to pitch them into buying into what you believe would literally change the world for the better, and being shot down with criticism and cynical remarks. Now put yourself in that situation about 3 times a week for a year or two, and you have the beginnings of Kanye's career as a rapper. It almost sounds like the plot to The Pursuit of Happiness. Kanye faced a lot of adversity from his peers for his rapping ability when he was first emerging on the scene as a producer. He had always seen himself as the total package, listening to hip-hop and learning how to rap around the time he was in the 3rd grade before learning how to produce beats. Yet when he was first finding his grounding within the industry during his late teenage years, people valued him for his ability to make beats, but didn't much believe in his ability to produce good records with his own lyrics on them. Nearly everybody he worked with would urge him away from trying to produce songs and put his own rhymes on top. Kanye knew he had it within himself to be the great MC that he would go on to become, but the people surrounding him at the time didn't always share the sentiment with him, insisting that he stay in his own lane. It would take years of persistence and one near-fatal car crash that birthed the song Through the Wire until Kanye was finally able to get to releasing his own album. But what would keep him a major player in the world of hip-hop for years to come is his unique creative process and larger-than-life view on music's potential to be a great vehicle for change. Innovation is what makes Kanye bigger than any other rapper putting lyrics on trap drums and 808 bass. When you create something the likes of which has never existed before, you put yourself in the position to be a trendsetter or a pioneer. I'm talking about Ye making use of sped-up, high-pitched vocal samples in his songs in the era when people were getting down to It's Your Birthday by 50 Cent and Tipsy by J.O.O.D. No shade thrown to either of those tracks or artists. Having something that separates you from the crowd and embracing it and using it in a way that's tasteful and not gimmicky is key. I'm talking about experimenting with your sonic vocabulary and getting a synthesizer to make noises that sound like vocals. I'm talking about putting out 3 albums heavily steeped in hip-hop, and then throwing caution to the wind, disregarding any concerns about backlash or the disenfranchisement of your fans, and putting out a pop album with melancholy tones, 808s, and heartbreaks. 808s and heartbreaks took hip-hop to pop arenas. In a time when auto-tune was looked down upon by nearly everyone in the hip-hop world, his idol and contemporary Jay-Z even making a song called Death of Auto-Tune, Kanye would press on. By fusing auto-tune singing with downbeat lyrics harping on themes of heartbreak and vulnerability, he'd effectively broken down the walls of him being just another artist in the genre of hip-hop by exposing a more sensitive side of his humanity. This album specifically would go on to greatly influence other music artists such as Drake, Frank Ocean, Kid Cudi, and Childish Gambino. Even artists outside of the realms of hip-hop like James Blake and Bon Iver would draw influences from the album. This kind of growth and development is a product of experimenting with sounds and interacting with scenes that are out of one's comfort zone. Exposing another dimension of his musical sensibility had posed him to become the musical phenomenon and icon that he aspired to be. While he was raised in the likes of hip-hop artists such as KRS-One, Run DMC, Public Enemy, Tribe Called Quest, DMX, and LL Cool J to name a few, Kanye's early musical idols were actually pop sensations like Stevie Wonder, Michael Jackson, and George Michael. Kanye would go on to say, "Michael Jackson is my favorite artist of all time. Every time I hit a stage, every time I write a song, every time I rap, every performance I do, every time I pick an outfit, I think about Michael Jackson. Michael Jackson is synonymous with the greatest that you could possibly do in music." These were artists who affected more than just their own genre. They affected the world with their presence in popular culture. This was the scope that Kanye hoped to achieve in his musicality. Not content with being just another hip-hop rapper or producer, he wanted to be a household name, an entity in people's everyday life and consciousness. He he wants to influence the world. As it stands, with the exception of Kid Cudi, there isn't another rapper out who's progressed through as many sound signatures as Kanye has. From soulful hip-hop to down-tempo pop melancholy, back to hard-hitting hip-hop bangers, to deconstructed, minimal, aggressive, and yet intelligent dissonance, and all the way back to hip-hop. His sonic range is wider than a majority of other rappers. His craft is unrivaled because he's an incredible student. People talk about having a good ear for music or a good gut feeling when it comes to music production, and he's got both. But they didn't emerge from happenstance. These things were challenged and developed and honed because this is somebody who values creativity in all different forms and takes it all seriously. This isn't somebody who only came up off of listening to and studying hip-hop's underground legends. This is somebody who appreciates art for art's sake. He's not somebody solely entrenched in hip-hop culture. His interests and tastes span a broad range, and I'd credit some of this to him having attended art school for some time before dropping out at the age of 20. A focus on artistry and innovation instead of experimenting within a limited world of musical conventions gives him an edge above other artists competing for hip-hop's most prestigious accolades. In the world of fashion, he said that Marc Jacobs is his idol for merging all worlds, the way he's big in the hood and the head of the #1 fashion house in the world. In the realm of visual arts, he's shown admiration and collaborated with artists such as Vanessa Beecroft, Cause, Eli Russell Linitz, Romain Gavras, Hype Williams, Chris Milk, George Kondo, and Takashi Murakami, to name a few. This goes to show that being open-minded and art-oriented definitely pays off, because how else could you put trust in all of these people to represent your vision and brand? The world is huge, but creatives are few and far between. The world has so much to gain when creatives find each other and collaborate on projects instead of competing against one another. Kanye, for the most part, has done a great job in his music career of seeking out other creatives and getting them to put their spin on what he's working on. This is why his products are unique. A creative genius such as Kanye knows he's only limiting himself when he doesn't bring anyone else into the mix of what he's doing. This willingness to collaborate, coupled with his openness to any and all feedback on his projects, no matter where they are in terms of completion, is Kanye's recipe for creative success. He's open, he knows how to reach out, and he puts people exactly where they need to be. Now, getting back to that part about feedback, I think this is one of the most important things to reflect on. Kanye's craft lives off of live feedback. There has been so many instances in which Ye has performed his verses for people off the cuff just to get their thoughts on it before he'd release them to the world. In one instance, Kanye performed his verses for all of the tracks on Life of Pablo for Seth Rogen inside of a limousine. After every track played, he'd ask Rogen what he thought of it, and this lasted about 2 whole hours. In another instance, while working on his album My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, rapper and producer Q-Tip was quoted saying, "With Kanye, when he has his beats or his rhymes, he offers them to the committee and we're all invited to dissect, strip, or add on to what he's already started." By the end of the sessions, you see how he integrates and transforms everyone's contributions, so the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. Everybody's opinions mattered and counted. If the delivery guy comes in the studio and Kanye likes him and they strike up a conversation, he'll go, "Check this out, tell me what you think." Kanye is someone who operates with a certain degree of creative whimsy. There have been multiple times in his career where he would have 2/3 of an album done only to be given new direction by one development that would set him off down the rabbit hole however deep it goes. In this sense, he operates loosely, free from deadlines for the most part with the exception of self-imposed ones. He lets his own creativity take him wherever it leads. One of the greatest examples of this is the production of the song Stronger from Graduation, of which Ye had produced in upwards of 75 different versions of the song before deciding which one to place on the album. Can you imagine how music would sound if every artist was that obsessive and dedicated to their craft? If this degree of care and intention was present in music more often, then we might not be stuck in perpetual states of complacency with the cookie-cutter artists making the just passable songs that dominate our airwaves. If we all could find ways to incorporate elements of the Kanye West method into our own creative processes, then we might just be able to raise the bar enough to tread new and exciting territory.